Welcome to the Sylobourne Show. Ladies and gentlemen, today I've got a very interesting and very educational guest, Mr. Aundrieux from Manhood Academy. Aundrieux, welcome.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Greetings, I'm good, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you for coming on the show. And, you know, it's been a while. We've been missing each other from different discussions at different times, you know.
We're happy to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think also at the same time, everything is always the right time. You know, as a man who is so very deep and entrenched in his culture, historical being, one understand the whole essence of timing, you know.
Divine time.
Divine timing. And it's so important regarding divine timing as well with what is happening in society now with our boys. You know? And being with Manhood Academy, you know, before I even go into that, when there was a recent spate of crime, I think it was the latter part of last year, well, there's always seemed to be, but there's a massive amount, and I was really moved very profoundly to do something as much as I can. And I captured a lot of the groups which are out there. There's a leaflet going around with different groups, and your group was one of them. So I got this list, and there was about 25 or 30 different persons on the list, and Manhood Academy, 100 Black Men, Womenhood Academy, different ones. And I said, I want to do some Facebook Live with these persons, just to show them, because not everybody have certain experience. Like I don't have certain experience in certain areas, but I recognize that I can learn from different persons and also use my platform to share the experience, to show that there are a lot of solutions out there, not just the typical narratives. And yourself is one of them that I persevered and to come on the show, which is the first one since that period. Now, in regards to the whole issue of knife crime and the rise and the state of affairs, one of the things also, they talk about the narratives and being the same that the media seem to gain in a lot of prominence in this particular era. What's your view on that? Because I've heard you on different media stations as well. What's your view on the media and the whole essence of this whole knife crime?
Well, there's an African proverb that says, if you do not welcome the children into the village, they will burn it down to feel its warmth. So if you remember a couple of years ago, London was burning. In fact, the UK was burning. I remember there were riots all over the UK, Bristol, London, different parts of London, different parts of outer London, simultaneously over a couple of days. And that was just a frustration of our young people saying, you know what, you're not listening to us? All right, we're going to burn this down, unfortunately. You know, so you were talking about solutions, and Manhood Academy, we come from a solutionary perspective in terms of things, because we do know in the media, I've worked in the media for some of the real big media outlets as a corporate designer for many years, and we do know drama sells. Boring stories don't sell. Boring stories do not get people to log into their website and join their website or to buy a newspaper on the newsstand. Drama sells. So in the scheme of things, gun and knife crime, quote unquote, sells, gets people's attention. We are in the era of the attention era, I call it, because it's all about social media, getting enough likes, getting enough hits, etc. Celebrities, getting the attention of the masses. We're in the age of the digital age, and we're in the age of the attention era. So these things get people's attention. So if there was a drop in gun and knife crime, you know, we'll have to find something else to sell our papers to get the attention of the masses. So it is a chronic situation in our community. But I also feel it's self-perpetuating by keeping the narrative going and the buzzword going, gun, knife, crime, violence. It's a self-perpetuating cycle. Unfortunately, some of our young people buy into the cycle, all right? So they become programmed by the cycle with the mindset of enacting that. We also get that through like game consoles. Have you ever played Black Ops? Have you ever played Grand Theft Auto? I mean, I work in a special unit for young people with social, emotional health challenges. A lot of them play these video games all night.
Yeah.
But what does it do? We know what it does. It was shown in the movie, Spike Lee's movie Clockers,
yes.
where the game console becomes reality.
Yes.
So then it becomes automatic in a challenging situation for an automatic response based on what you've been doing here.
Yeah.
So all of these complex things make up the chronic situation we have at the moment.
Well, that's really profound. And so what you're saying then, what is the way of actually switching or flipping that script regarding the narrative then? If the excitement and the buzz of the drama is only there, what can then fill that emptiness, that gap?
Very good question. I mean, we live in an era also of hyper reality.
Yes.
So when you're playing a game console, that is no comparison to reading a black and white physical book.
Yes.
Because it's super exciting, right? So in terms of solutions, what we do at Manhood Academy is we give our young people options. Okay, the options. Okay, so that's a stereotype that's been given to you. Are you going to buy into that and become that as reality? We'll give you some other options. Actually, you've got entrepreneur skills. I see the way you've got a verbal swag in your language. You can actually make money from that legally.
Yes.
Right? What's your skill? You know, whether you could start washing cars. You can start by, you know, there's one of our young masters. He got onto this idea. I saw him on social media and I gave him a call. I saw him with a trolley full of water, right? At Carnival. And then I saw him at another event in Brixton. I said, how you doing, man? He goes, I'm good, man. You know what? I just made 3 figures, you know. He's like 19. He's like, I just made 3 figures today, you know. I was like, yeah, what was you doing? He's like, yeah, I was selling. It was that hot summer day. Remember when it was hot over a period of time? He just sold water and he made a couple £100.
Yeah.
Right?
You know, as we talk about that, when the recent demonstrations going on in London about Trump and the thing in the air, the balloon, I said to some guys, man, if it was a Jamaican in London, they'll be selling suck on ice cone.
There you go, ice cones.
and
$1 a time, you know, come on.
Just capitalize on the moment, man. I make a lot of money, you know what I mean? But you know, it's important what you're saying right there about. So what you're saying, you seize on the skill set which you pick up on.
Exactly. So giving our young people options. There's that stereotype. We see it in the music videos, we see it in the game consoles, we see it in the narrative that our young people have, but you can have options. You can actually consider being an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Then you're making the good money you're always talking about, right? Our young people are predominantly driven by making money. So, okay, let's explore that. What is your skill set? What is your future goal? We encourage them, yes, become a future employee, but also become a future entrepreneur. All 8 members, all directors of Manhood Academy, some of us work in institutions, educational institutions, but all of us have at least one business, more times 2 or 3. I can reel them off, the whole team. So, you know, we're making multiple...
see the pictures which you have put up,
Right, multiple streams of income, the rich dad, poor dad concept. So we just give our young people options in terms of who they can become in their highest self.
So if we break it down, if we go back now then, where did the idea then come from? I know you got 8 directors, but you're at the core, I see. But where did the idea stem from initially?
The idea, well, as I said, there's 8 directors.
Yes.
And our beloved Vanguard brother, Brother Davis Williams, he came up with the spark, the seed, because he took a trip to Gambia with Brother Kehinde, who's another of the co-directors, and came back. He came up with this idea. I've just experienced rites of passage. So he put a call out on social media and to those he knew. He knew me I knew Davis at a distance. We'd be at the same events because we're doing the same work. We'll give each other a noble nod. How you doing? Yeah. We'll have a little conversation, then we'll depart. So he blitzed the word out and 8 came back. 8 brothers. Each of us very highly skilled in our field. We have a BAFTA award-winning educator in the team. We have a member in the team who works on the streets with our young people. We have one of our young members that works in group homes, as they call them in America, or foster care children. Davis and Albert ran a youth organization independently before Manhood Academy. So we'd all be in the trenches working with our young people. and we came together like as a super team. So that's how it started. In February 2016, we met in a Ethiopian restaurant in South London, and we just mind mapped, and he said, let's do this. Let's be a part of the solution to this problem.
And if for a young person now who wants to actually get involved with Manhood Academy, are you guys reach out to this person and say, I see you, or do they reach out to you?
Okay, well, it happens predominantly parents. Our community are reaching out to us.
Right.
Our community are bringing their young people to us. And not always from dysfunction. You know, not always, oh, my young person's being excluded, he's having problems, can you help him? No, we have healthy families also approach us, mum and dad intact in a healthy household, who just want to upgrade the skills of their son. So, I mean, my personal philosophy is with your children, you have dad, if dad's around, hopefully, you know, dad's a solid, for a boy, that's a stable role model, but also uncle, friend, a good school teacher, people in the community, dad's friend, all of these contribute to the growth of the young person, as was in ancient times where on average 8 men were assigned to 1 boy. If we go back to ancient principles of rites of passage, you know, so it wasn't left up to just the direct parents to raise the child, it was the village that raised the child, which is another African proverb.
Now I want to go back to, because you mentioned rites of passage a couple of times, and for persons, viewers, want you to break that down a bit. When Brother Davis, when he went to Gambia, and rites of passage, break that down a bit.
Okay, so rites of passage is an initiation. It's an initiation from one stage to the other. I've written a book on it called Sacred Man.
We're going to cover that later,
what it does, what rites of passage is it defines the different stages of humanity, of being a human. And spiritually, in African indigenous culture, rites of passage starts from birth. Birth is actually a rites of passage. And death is a rites of passage. It's something that is certain, and all in between. So in between, we have boyhood, we have teenagehood, we have marriage, we have shifting into your eldership, and shifting into your ancestry. Because in African culture, your journey was not done when you passed away. Then you became an ancestor. So the village, for example, would seek the guidance of the ancestors. We've heard that term, right? So rites of passage is basically a lifelong journey that we all partake in. It can be to a structure, like being initiated. And for those that just live their life, they're going for rites of passage anyway, just through the life journeys that they're learning.
So it's not an end process, it's just a continuous process.
It's a continuous process because we know in African culture, and not only African culture, Chinese ancient culture, Indian culture, and European culture, there's life as a cycle. It's cyclical, all right? Ancestry back to birth again. So we're just taking on the ancient principles.
It's very interesting because everything points to mentorship, you know. The whole rites of passage also is mentorship. You're seeking the ancestors, mentorship, the elders, mentorship. Manhood Academy revolves around mentorship as well. There are 8 key persons, mentorship. How does then one qualify to be an effective mentor? Because sometimes it is used very loosely. But in a tight way, in a tight form, how does one qualify to be a mentor? How does one qualify?
Well, at Manhood Academy, we use the term coaches. We're coaches. All right, Usain Bolt, all right, the greatest coach on the planet. Okay? Without his coach, who I believe he calls Papa or Dad, all right, since he was a young boy, he would not be the supreme world champion and I would say the greatest athlete, one of the greatest athletes of all time. He needed a coach. So we coach our young people, and the criteria, the base criteria is a healthy life experience, okay? Also, to be emotionally healthy in terms of your experience. And, you know, to kind of have some sense of where our young people are at and kind of be in that system of things. You don't need to be in the education system or working with young people, but you do need a heightened sense of self and of the needs of our young people. So that's the base criteria. And we are expanding from the 8 to other members that are coming into the family, and it's a holistic, ongoing process.
And also, I guess you have associate members as well.
Yeah.
Or you got to be directly involved deeply.
Associate members in terms of the expanded community, yes. I mean, for example, another philosophy of Manhood Academy is, unfortunately, this culture is very easy to work individually.
Yes.
But we say, let's work together. So, for example, when we started, we seek counsel from our elder brothers, which is Origin Rites of Passage in South London, who have been going for maybe 15, 20 years in terms
They're
of
on
Rites
my
of
list
Passage.
as well, Origin.
Yeah, the vanguards in Rites of Passage in London, you know. And we sat with them and we said to them, you know, give us some counsel. We want to start this. We want to build something, and you've got a success model. So we sat around a round table with our elders, and, you know, they gave us the blessing, and they said, you know, we would suggest this, and this. Yes. But, you know, there's West Side Young Leaders Academy. There's East Side Young Leaders Academy. There's Father Figure. There's 100 Black Men, etc., etc. So we view all these organizations as our comrades. Right. And, you know, there are ongoing initiatives to work with each and every one.
Well, that's good. We're going to come back to you after the break, where we're going to pick up on some of the different programs in Manhood Academy and also Womanhood Academy.
Womanhood Academy,
as
of
well.
course.
Can I never leave out the woman?
No, the balancer.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to take a quick break, and we'll come back when we speak further with Aundrieux about Manhood Academy and empowering our young men or young leaders for the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Manhood Academy is a rites of passage program which will literally mold our children, our young boys, into men. The why of why we feel there's a necessity that we do that for ourselves is because it must be done. And as a man who personally has gone through certain issues, not having a father figure in my life, even being a father of 3 children and then going through certain issues with their own mother, there's things that need to be done, do you understand? And it's a constant uphill struggle if one man stands alone, even if he does consider himself to be a man, do you understand? So this is not just about our children, but it is about the men also in our community and them standing to be a part of something that we should have been doing a long time ago.
We strongly believe that our slogan is, boys are born, men are made. So as a consequence, we understand that, you know, men have to be trialed and tested to earn that title of being a man. Growing up as a young black boy, no one ever taught me that this is the principles or this is what a man should do or shouldn't do. So what happened? The streets gave me their definition, their archetype of what a man is, and I lived up to that. And I failed miserably, you know, made mistake after mistake. Being a mentor, going into prisons, working with young boys today, again, listening to them burns our heart. So what we're about to do now, it's phenomenal and it's scary at the same time, because I've not been through a rites of passage program officially. Every indigenous culture has been through one, but within our culture, because we've been separated. Exactly, because we've been separated and we've been scattered across the globe. We've been disconnected from the roots. So we're bringing to our community, to our young black boys, our nephews, our sons, our uncles, our brothers, a rites of passage program that will forge them into mighty men of valor.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sylobourne Show, and I've got my guest, Aundrieux from Manhood Academy, as we explore about the work that he's doing with his organization. And of course, we have been joined by his son, Hada. How are you, Hada?
I'm good.
Fantastic, good. Aundrieux, thank you for, we got 2 instead of 1, isn't it?
Yes, he's, this is our protege.
Yes.
Hada. Yeah, I got a flyer here, you see, I don't know which camera, but this is our sons on the promo here. So this is Hada and 2 of the other members' sons. So they pretty much they're with us when we begun this community organization. They were there. We're in a round table when we were planning things and saying they were playing together. They've been at our launch. You know, he's been here from the beginning. So we will say to them, you got about 20 years, okay?
Yes.
So get your study on. Because you will be teaching.
Right, I like what you said, it's been here from the beginning.
From the beginning, just revolving around their fathers, our little ones.
Well, I'm glad you said that because he's your son, so therefore he's from the beginning, deep.
Yes.
Well, that's great. Well, I wanted to go back to the whole, some of the different programs that you can highlight from Manhood Academy. If you can break down some of them. You know, you touch a bit, but if you can break down a couple of the programs, that inspiration from the urban rites of passage, you know, the countries, the tribes, but but within the UK, the fundamental context that it plays in the UK society as well.
Right. So in terms of rites of passage is an ancient principle, as I said. Ancient African culture, Chinese culture, Indian culture, all continents, and ancient European culture. Rites of passage was a benchmark standard to come into manhood and womanhood. And that has been dissolved, not around the world, but in Western culture. Rites of passage, unfortunately for our young people, is joining college, getting drunk, you know, meeting girls in college or, you know, on the street party, and that's kind of rites of passage. That's kind of, oh, I'm an adult now, I can kind of do what I want, you know, but it has no structure and guidance. So rites of passage is a structure and guidance into adulthood. Right. All right. So, so indigenously around the world, this has been carried out, and we're just bringing it back. We're bringing back the ancient principles in a modern context. For example, we term it cultural rites of passage or urban rites of passage. So let's take the concept of ancient Africa again. So we were in a village setting, our ancestors, and it was necessary for the men to protect the village. So they had to be a brotherhood to do that, and also get out, bring food back to the village, protect the women and the children of the village, sustain the village, maintain the village. We no longer live in that environment. Okay, we no longer live in a forest or a jungle, but we do live in an urban concrete jungle. Same principles, it's about survival, right? So we're teaching our young people how to survive, and not only survive, but thrive in the urban concrete jungle, all right? So in order to survive nowadays, you have to learn the principles of how to maintain yourself and your future family. Also the social etiquette, navigating different environments. A conversation you'd have in a barber shop chopping up with your boys is different to how you'd forge business in a corporate setting. So then you have to now to navigate and also be almost be bilingual in how you communicate, right?
And this is what we call the alternative on this parallel world at the same time.
Parallel world, or as W.E. Du Bois, the souls of black folks, that famous narrative that says, as people of African origin, we are split between minds. We have to balance our minds between one world and our world, the souls of black folks. So yes, most definitely, I would say all cultures have to do that. I mean, when an Asian young person goes home, they speak the culture, the language of their community. But when they're at work, they're speaking British. So, you know, we all have to culturally navigate the environment and appropriate that also depending on where we are.
And also you got the sisterhood, as well.
Womanhood.
Womanhood.
The womanhood, which is the sisterhood,
If you can break down that for me, please.
Most certainly today is a very special day because on this day, Saturday, the Womanhood Academy for Girls launched actually officially. So we call them our equilibrium, our balancer, ma'at, the yin to our yang. So the Manhood Academy is now balanced because the Womanhood Academy is launched also. Doing the exact same principle as us with our young girls, our young ladies. So it's a special day because they launched today, and the sisterhood is putting the work in right as we speak.
So therefore, what we're talking about is really building the community very strong and balanced.
In balance, building the community up in balance.
And balance, fantastic. Now, you've written 2 books. You alluded to one a while ago. Sacred Manhood, From Boy to Manhood to the Divine Masculine, an inspirational book whose title speaks to its message. And your other book is titled Tupac. If you can sort of highlight the first one, what the message is.
Okay, well, Sacred Man was inspired by working with young people. So what I did was I wrote a manhood manual for our young people called Sacred Man, From Boyhood to Manhood to Divine Masculine. And the book which I didn't bring. Should have. But the book actually is very different to a regular book. So it's not black and white text. It's a full color book, almost like a magazine. But with very profound subjects. So if one wants to become woke, that's the new buzzword, or conscious, where do you start? Well, you start with maybe looking at your diet, taking a look at certain herbs you could take as a man, ginseng, sawpill, menthol. So it just gives you the basic guidelines to sacred manhood. And sacred manhood doesn't mean, in seclusion, meditating like a Buddhist. It's just a mindset in terms of living your life with a sacred mindset. Yeah.
And also the second book, which is like a 2-pack.
I wrote that book. It started as an essay, and it just turned into it's actually thicker than Sacred Man. And that is the metaphysical enigma of Tupac Shakur, the Black Panthers, and Star Wars. So what does that mean? So we hear the narrative about Tupac, and I would say all cultures, all generations love Tupac. Whether you're 16 or 40. So I thought, you know what? There's one thing I know about Tupac. I know Tupac was a Panther cub, a Black Panther cub when he was younger. Both his parents were Black Panthers, active members. And all his extended family, his godmother, Assata Shakur, Afeni Shakur, Geronimo Pratt. These are our greats in terms of the civil rights movements. He was surrounded by leadership. And that was not projected in who Tupac as a personality was. We got the gangster persona, Death Row Records. So I didn't touch on that whatsoever. I touched on Tupac's upbringing from the vantage point of a young person raised in the civil rights era.
And also touching on the leadership behind him. And
the leadership behind the mentorship. I mean, his business manager was one of a prominent Black Panther members. He's up until he left for Death Row, and things dovetailed. But Tupac had an alternate agenda, which I expressed in the book. He wrote a manifesto which was not published called Boss Player, which was how to upgrade yourself from coming off the streets or a gang, upgrade yourself legally and legit to be successful. The Boss Player Manifesto. You can Google that. So I put all of this stuff in a book just to say, for the inspiration of our young people, there is more to just being a gangster persona. Tupac was highly intelligent. He was well-read, fact, to PhD standards in terms of his intellect and knowledge, and his record of books that were found in his library. He was highly intelligent. I believe Tupac was dumbing down to reach a critical mass of people, meaning our young people on the streets, in order to upgrade them into community soldiers.
So what we're talking about is something which we spoke about earlier, about this alternative universe, this parallel universe.
Double consciousness.
So we talk about the gangster part of Tupac, where many people know, but there's also that other conscious aspect of Tupac.
That compassionate love of his community and love of self.
But isn't that somewhat, isn't why sometimes people find it difficult to sometimes see maybe gangsters, that there's some good, sometimes out of even bad boys, you know what I mean? I guess the work that yourself do and many people in that particular area will see some gem, even in the baddest of character, which they want to really work and to find and to pull it out, isn't it?
Yeah, well, good and bad is relative in the scheme of things. If we're talking about universal language, okay? Good and bad is relative. A lot of elders, let's say, or elder men that I know that lived that lifestyle when they were younger, they've had an enlightened moment. A lot of the men that I work with have actually lived that life and have come out of that life. Now they're teaching young people there's other ways, you know? But we do know there's a critical time span for our young people between the age of 13 and 19, which is when rites of passage is enacted. That is a time when testosterone rises by 800% in the average male. In a female, there are estrogen levels and different hormonals that change, which have our young people assert their opinion. All right? Now, if that isn't channeled, it will just enact in whichever way it enacts. It may enact in the form of childhood trauma that is kick-started in their teenage years. And they don't even know why they're angry or upset. They just have this feeling. And that feeling may be enacted in violence. It may be enacted in dysfunction. But if that feeling is channeled and healed, we have a different type of teenager that manifests. And that's the work that we do.
Yeah. Now, before we wrap up, I want to just ask one more question. I started it at the start, but it's something to home in and to zero in on. What would you say are the 4 or 5 pointers, 5 key points that can lead to an effective solution in dealing with some of the atrocities in the communities? It's a fact that our black boys are stabbing each other. Okay, it's maybe wider, but in the communities.
Okay.
What would you say are some 5 key factors?
5 factors.
Yeah.
Hadar, you're going to have to help me with this. I need your fingers, because I'm just going to get off track. So I'm going to go through 5 factors. Here's the first one, right? So 5 factors. One of the factors I say, I have this theory. I may well patent this theory.
Yes.
I call it the Eric Killmonger theory.
Is it the first time here? Is it the first time on the Sylobourne show? The Killmonger theory? The
Killmonger theory. This is a world premiere of this theory. Okay. It hasn't been formulated in words yet. It's just here. Yeah. But it's based on the Black Panther phenomenon, that movie that transcended just being a movie. Yes. It had so many levels towards who we are as a people. Yes. So if we take the archetype of Eric Killmonger, who was the antagonist in the movie The Black Panther, we see in that movie, the movie started, he was a young boy. He was playing basketball with his friends, happy, and then something happened. He looked up at his apartment, he knew something was wrong. What happened? His father passed away. Yeah. From that time, a sadness set in Eric Killmonger. That sadness manifested as anger as an adult. From sadness to anger. That is a key principle that has happened to a lot of our young men in our community right now. Sadness as a child, where's my dad? Or the many dysfunctions a lot of our young people, and we have experienced as young people. Yeah. But if it isn't healed, it may well manifest as anger as they reach their teenage years, and they may not even emotionally be able to process why they feel that way or why they feel they need to do what they need to do. But if it's distinguished, then it can be healed. There's a process of healing taking place. Yeah. But it needs to start early. We start with our young masters, as we call them, from 8 years old. All right? And you'll be surprised the narratives that they have to tell us. Yes. Okay? In terms of how they feel and their sadness. And remember, as adults, we are trained to manage stress. But a lot of our young people are stressed. And they don't know how to process that stress. They're just like, I don't feel right. Something about, remember that they're pure beings when they're tiny little things. And so when they're experiencing this energy called stress, they're like, what is this? I don't know. And, they're just on autopilot in terms of how they behave in terms of stress, educational stress in schools, etc. So, we teach them from a very young age about how they manage their feelings and emotions. Because if it's not managed and explored, it may well explode into their elder years. So that's one principle that we address in the Manhood Academy, just exploring your feelings and being aware of how you feel and how you feel about your environment, your family, your community and school.
The Killmonger theory.
The Eric Killmonger theory.
Eric Killmonger theory.
Professor Khonsu patent on that one.
And 2?
Number two, I would say, excuse me, on number 2 now, was 2. Okay, so number 2 would be, I would say we need to really police, for a better words, our own communities. There's so many government objectives. We're putting funding into this. We've got a couple £1 million we want to put into the gun and knife. You know what? Let the community or people that are passionate about their community being healthy and whole, let them manage their communities. Give them a payroll. Yeah. A lot of our elder brothers that are redeemed of their ways, maybe they were a leader of an organization, a legal organization. Now they got their healthy family, they got their own business going. Make them with the knowledge and the know-how how to connect with our young people, manage our young people. Yes. We're shutting down youth centers, open back up youth centers.
Well, that's interesting, yeah.
And also even patrolling our communities, our estates. Let the elders do that with that moral guidance. And I would say healthy elders. We've got elders we know that are not emotionally healthy. We're talking about healthy elders, role models in our community.
Yes. And 3?
3. All right, you're stretching me now. 3 is Manhood and Womanhood Academy, which is an archetype.
Yeah.
We're not the first and we're not the last. Yeah. But, you know, let's be, what does Gandhi say? Be part of, what's the solution? Say? Be what you wish to see. Oh, it's lost me now. Be what you wish, be the change that you wish to see in the world.
Yes, yes.
Which is the mindset of the Manhood Academy. So instead of watching the news passively, oh my gosh, did that happen in Brixton? Did that happen in Tottenham? Oh, this is terrible. No, we're creating a solution. We've created a tangible solution, which is the Manhood Academy for boys and the Womanhood Academy for girls. Being proactive.
Now, if I ask you the last question, which is, what is your favorite mantra or your word? Would that be it then?
I would say most definitely, you know, be the change you wish to see in the world.
Be the change you wish to see
because
in
then
the world.
it takes the responsibility back to self.
Yes.
What can you do? Instead of saying, oh, you in the community, please, can you do something? You know, I was at a round table meeting with the community in Brixton some months ago, and the question was asked, you know, what can you do about what's happening in our community? And I said, what can you do? What are you going to do tomorrow?
Yes.
Why not approach a young person in the street that you may see looks misguided and say hi? And ask them how they're doing.
Yes.
And ask them how they're feeling. Yes. It just starts with one. It starts with the individual before it becomes a critical mass.
Wow. That's powerful. Well, listen, Andre.
That was free though. We run out of time. Free.
True. So that's
but
good.
thank you. But did that cover you though?
That,
I mean,
that
we could
covers,
go on, but
we can go on. I mean,
those are tangible solutions.
Those are tangible
you know?
solutions. And I want to thank Hada for joining as well, for that very powerful rendition of having 3 key points for Daddy to make sure he's on track.
He's one of the proteges of Manhood Academy. We have a few. He's got a couple years until he starts teaching himself. And actually, in summer camp, didn't you teach a class? Yeah, just this summer he was teaching a class. So
fantastic.
He's on track.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard Aundrieux from Manhood Academy, and of course, interestingly, you got the sister version,
Womanhood Academy.
The Womanhood Academy, which launched today, make it balanced. The final word which we got was be the change that you want to see in the world, which is what we finished on. But also we didn't want to take the narrative of knife crime just about that typical narrative, but looking at some of the solutions. There were 3 points he raised, one which was a killmonger theory, Killmonger theory, and also the second one was talk about policing your own community, which is crucial, something I've talked about at different times as one who is a very key architect of a neighborhood watch in my community and understand the word power of neighborhood watch as well. And you can see, ladies and gentlemen, that it is so important that we play a part in the solution instead of actually waiting or asking for others to be the solution. Let us be the solution. So I want to thank Aundrieux for coming today and for sharing the work of Manhood Academy as we seek to be a platform that share what are some of the work that some of the great persons, great warriors are doing out there. Great warriors.
All right. Thank you for having
warriors.
us.
Thank you so much, Aundrieux. Good. Thank you very much for joining the show with Aundrieux from Manhood Academy. To understand more about Manhood Academy, you can look on our website, which is www.sylobourne.com, or you'll see the website for Manhood Academy as well, where you can find out more about them. And remember to like and subscribe to the Sylobourne Show, and of course on YouTube, Snapchat. Yes, I did Snapchat. We're just starting Snapchat now, and Facebook, and all the different social media. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Yes, this is Aundrieux Sankofa, known to some as Professor Khonsu of the Manhood Academy. And I'd just like to say, please like, subscribe on all the social media channels to Sylobourne TV. All right? Watch this space for great interviews and great content from our community. Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the Sylobourne Show. And of course, what I'd like you to do is to like the videos, share the videos, and subscribe to the channel. Let people know about it. But important thing is also to comment. Let us get your comment, let's get your views, so we can understand how to even please you better, ladies and gentlemen. So as I said, share, like, subscribe. Thank you. I saw you there. You subscribed and you shared. Thank you so much. See you next time.